need?
I don't think I need that. I'm hoping this will be resolved before the election, so I'm going to address it to the two current commissioners. Right now, we don't have any recycling program functioning in the county. What's the plans to resolve that in the next few months? A minute and a half to each of the current.
I think we need a recycling program. I've always been one for that. Produced my own biodiesel. I incorporated the tree protection ordinance in our county, so I'm certainly, working on our environment. But we weren't doing it right. We had our facilities being used for garbage dumps, furniture. I asked staff several occasions that we needed to fence these facilities off, put cameras on them, put signage on them where people would be fined if they used them improperly. And then Westport Recycling had some bad issues with their management and the way they were operating. All in all, I feel like we certainly need to go back into recycling as soon as possible, but we need to do it the right way this time and not allow the abuse that was being allowed before. It's just a matter of getting it right this time and getting it done as quick as we can.
Thank you, Bob. Commissioner Cole is absolutely right. The recycling program collapsed because the market collapsed. China was the major buyer, and China pulled out of the market. So a major portion of the recycling market just absolutely collapsed in the U.S. You can still sell clean cardboard, metals, and this kind of plastic. This kind of plastic is recyclable. I've been in contact with my mentor. Every new commissioner in the state gets a mentor. Mine is Brian Deloche in Tallahassee, who's been 8 years, an 8-year experienced commissioner in Leon County. And asking how they're doing theirs. He's giving me some pointers, some phone numbers and such. But bottom line is that our contractor went bankrupt, went belly up. As has been pointed out, the public around the sites, not the general public, but the public around the recycling sites abused them. We had animal carcasses, old furniture, all sorts of stuff stuffed into what was supposed to be the recycling. And so that didn't help the thing at all. But bottom line is, until we can get a contractor up and running, and we're going to go out for bids for a new contractor, but I've got a couple of names from Brian, from the Leon area that they're big enough they may be interested in coming over this far. But until we get a new contractor, all we can do is take it to the landfill. That's the gospel truth. That's the bottom line right now. There is a market, like I said, now that's qualified. You can sell this stuff, you can sell clean cardboard, and you can sell this stuff. But the other stuff, we just going to have to take it to the dump until we can get another way around it. And that's just the harsh reality of it.
Mr. Joe Yellen.
Commissioner Cole, Commissioner Melvin, this is going to be directed to you two gentlemen, but I'd like to throw it out there as food for thought for our commissioners. And I realize this is very grandiose, but 98 is a huge problem. We saw that last week when we had that major tie-up. We see it every time we have an accident. It ties up the pool because there's no other corridor, and you're not going to go up 85 across down 87. So I'd like to ask, and I know it's a huge project, they can talk federal, state, local, but if we started now, it'd still be 20 years. So I'd like to hear these two gentlemen who have more experience in terms. But I'm looking to our county commissioner, our future district commissioners to help with this issue too. I'd like to read on that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jerry, and that was one of the issues that I hit hard. I'm fortunate to have a good friend in Don Gates, and I've had several conversations with him. But we'll get to what that amounts to in a minute. 98 is geographically constrained. You can 6-lane it in some places, but there's not room to widen the road. And that's it. That's the constraining factor. So where we can widen it, it's being widened. It's being widened in Okaloosa and right up to us. You all know that's been part of the problem around here for a while, is that. when they grind the road, it's called milling, when they mill the road and come to the intersections, they almost invariably mess up the timing devices. There really is a loop at the white line, at the whole short line when you come up to, and they damage that milling somehow or other, either water or whatever, but after they mill, it almost always throws the timing off. I have a project in the hopper now that somebody's grandson up and down this table will probably cut the ribbon on to look at trolley system down the center line. I spoke with Senator Gates over in Fort Walton when he was starting his tour of Fort Walton, when he was talking about the $1 billion he brought to us, and told him about our situation and how we depend on 85 to get out. So he set some money aside, 4-lane, the rest of 87, and cross Hill River and up with that. And he and I also discussed, because he's from a metropolitan area, he's not a native Floridian, about elevating the roads. If you've been down to Tampa, Miami, Jacksonville, you know, the through traffic is up top and the local traffic is on bottom. And I don't know if it's going to come to that or not, but in the next 15, 20 years, it may well be that elevation is the answer. And the Tallahassee transportation folks are aware of that, and I think he's made mention of that too. But it is a very serious problem, and there's just no practical way to widen it unless you're just gonna, you know, cut a swath through the peninsula. If you 6-laned it or 8-laned it, and there's just no room to live after that. And you have overpasses, and there's one other thing that is in the hopper now, and it's a long-range hopper. But I asked, and TPO has approved, put in the plan, to put a bridge at the base of Highway 87 where it hits 98. We know that our tourists we are a drive market. Our tourism, everybody drives in, they don't fly in here. And they come down off the interstates. They may come from over Louisiana. One time they may get off in Pensacola and come 98, but after that, they'll come all the way down and hit 87 and come down. So if we put a bridge where 87 hits 98, this is in the planning now, and make landfall on the island, our tourists that are coming to go to the island right now hit 87, get on 98, get in a hard right at the hand lane, get off on a shoulder, and cause the tailback and inch down, and then go across the 2-lane bridge. So somebody in the 25-year time frame will have a 4-lane bridge on and off, 2 lanes each way, so that you take the traffic off 98 and just take it over 98 to the beach. And then coming down to Juanas, after Juanas, make it one way, so that you can come and go to all those attractions on the island, but you make the existing bridge, those 2 lanes will become one way off. So that that'll help. But in the short run is the next 15, 20 years, 6-lane it where we can, and try. There's also another one in the planning hopper now. There's a local bypass road that Commissioner Gooden put in 10 years, 12 years ago, that's making its way up now. So that will, it runs from about Holly by the Sea almost all the way over to the post office. And it needs to go further all the way over to, so that you can go from there all the way to the shopping centers without having to get out there and do battle with 98. But that is a no simple problem to solve. It's a monstrous tangle. But if somebody had done something, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, who thought we needed it? 20 years ago, this was, when I came home from Tokyo, when we bought the condo there, they had just built the Winn-Dixie. That was it.
Well, we had the 98 commission, and they didn't make a whole lot of headway. But if you look back at records for the last 10 years, I've been a proponent of a second deck. I don't see people getting on a trolley or going down and leaving the car somewhere and getting on a trolley. But I've talked for 10 years now, and it was kind of looked at oddly at first, but for 10 years I've said that I see the only feasible way would be a toll second deck on Highway 98. And it would be a controlled toll. So in other words, during rush hour, you go from Navarre the whole way to Pensacola, it may cost you $3 or $4. But if you do it 1 o'clock in the morning, it may cost you 50 cents. Then you'd have limited access, and that would take all the, the burden off of Highway 98 for the people who wanted to travel through. I've had some opposition because people say, well, I don't think that'd look good sitting out there. But really, what are you looking at when you're on one side of 98 looking at the other side? There's very few places that you really have a scenic view. Most of the time you're looking from one side to a business on the other side. So, and you look at the towns that have a second deck, fast-paced transportation through the town. It works well. The idea is already developed. The machinery and equipment to do the put it in places there. So I think it'd be the most feasible way to really move traffic down Highway 98. Now, what they would do beyond Navarre may be different because it's not as crowded down that way, the rest of the way the county line. And then we'd have to work with Okaloosa County. I've been looking at this ever since the new 3-mile bridge. The replacement of the 3-mile bridge has been looked at because my thoughts there too, because we got to remember our neighbors in Gulf Breeze. They don't want 6 lanes through Gulf Breeze. They certainly won't want a second deck through Gulf Breeze. But the feasibility of pulling 2 of the lanes off this new bridge that we're talking about and have for so long, a 6-lane bridge to replace the 3-mile bridge. Why can't 2 of those lanes, one in each direction, go down the coast and possibly go over the naval live oaks?
We need to move on to the next question. Mrs. Joan Garston?
Thank you. I too battled through 98, waiting 3 hours on Saturdays to get over to Navarre Beach, and also have a house on the south side with damage to our roads. And I think that it's a recurring theme, the military motto, failure to plan is planning to fail. So with a nod towards the future, as you know, Sunday begins hurricane season. I am a church secretary. I field a lot of calls for where is a shelter in Navarre? Where can I bring my pets in Navarre? How do we get out of Navarre? And I don't really know how to answer that. When I research it, I'm told, well, there's a place in Milton, we think. We hear about places that open up after the storm. But my question, Mr. Broxson first and Mrs. Harper, how would you improve the current evacuation plan?
I think our current evacuation plan, the easiest routes we have now would be Avalon, which is 4-lane and going up there, and then 87. Those are the 2 routes that we have right now. As far as an evacuation plan, as far as getting off the island, as far as I'm aware, they usually shut down Navarre Bridge and make it 2 lanes going off of the island. 98's opened up, 87's opened up, and Avalon coming out of Gulf Breeze is opened up. As far as improving upon that, I don't know what you could do right now, short term. Long term, there again, maybe open up another lane, and make everything going up 87, 4 lanes headed north. But as far as evacuation routes, those are our 2 most, our vital roads, our main arteries going north and south of the county. So I think that's the best way to plan for that.
So with regard to those people, often the pilots take the equipment and the aircraft out of here, and there's widows and there's Air Force wives. We have a growing population of homeless that are living out of their cars. A lot of people don't know where to go. So with regard to shelters and places to bring animals, what would you suggest as well?
Shelters, as far as I'm aware, there's a ton of churches that usually open up as far as shelters. As far as county-owned shelters, I don't believe there is any.
Yeah.
I don't know of one church in the Navarre area that opens during a hurricane. Honestly, I'm a church secretary. I don't know of one. I get that question a lot. I don't know where to direct
Right,
people.
and you know, 911 won't even come out during a hurricane
Exactly.
to come aid you. So as far as what shelter would be open during a hurricane, as far as I know, it's pretty much you should have already had things handled before then to evacuate. That, as far as I know, you know, there has to be a little bit of personal responsibility there. And I know there are some.
Agreed. There's a lot of tourists too, though, and people that aren't native to here or new
Right.
military spouses. and
We usually,
stuff.
there, I mean, there's an ample amount of warning, but before something hits like that, and you're told to evacuate, oftentimes 4 or 5 days in advance, make your evacuation plan accordingly. And I think the citizens do have some responsibility to adhere to those warnings.
Agreed. But I was looking for a way to improve, and I guess communication is one of those. I don't think it's there right now. I think we have a lot of panic as well that contributes to that.
Right.
Yvonne, would you like to do
I agree that communication and education are the two key factors. A native Floridian, hurricanes hit regularly, so I understand that people need to be educated, and I think this is where the county government can work with your local churches and your other private organizations to get the word out. There's, county emergency management team. The county website the county does a really good job of posting information on the county website, but to a lot of people that might not be accessible. So, leading up to hurricane season, I think it would be really good for county staff and the county emergency management team to get out into the community, go to your churches, go to your PTAs, go to your local organizations to let people know what where are the evacuation routes, where are the shelters, what they need. I know that they do a great PowerPoint with the emergency management team, but at the end of the day, as Broxton stated, people have an obligation to know what to do and to make the decision and to not wait until the last minute, because if someone's going to write it out, they're going to write it out. But I do think the county could work with private organizations to improve that process so that people do know, what it is that they need to survive a hurricane if they decide to stay, what the routes are. If you wait until 2 hours before the hurricane hits, chances are you're going to be stuck on 87 and probably would, not fare very well. Your pets, what if you have children with handicap needs? Where are the handicap shelters? Where are the pet shelters? What shelters take pets? I mean, there's so much that goes into it that the county could work with these organizations and the churches to make that known. Thank you.
I do believe that there was some information in today's edition of the Navarre Press about hurricane evacuation.
This last flooding, we have a group in Santa Rosa, it's called SAFER. It's a volunteer organization. You go on the county's website. It's kind of, the county is involved in it. You can push, and it has like faith-based part. Well, I think this last flooding was a little warning to us. The Navarre Press only gives me 100 words to say something, but I answered it that I was disappointed in the response. And what I meant by the volunteer group is I don't think our SAFER organization should have up online so that every church, faith-based volunteer can punch in and see what the needs are. Everybody was kind of running in different directions. So I think we need to have a program set up there where all the volunteers, we had great volunteers, but a lot of them didn't know where to go. So we gotta incorporate SAFER, emergency management, and get that information up there and make it so they can see clearly what churches are open before a hurricane hits, where they can seek shelter. Thank you.
Something we deal with out on the beach is what to do in an emergency situation. Usually the homeowners and condo associations have a thing called a disaster preparedness plan. No First Services is your management company, and they regularly perform these disaster preparedness plans for their local communities. You may want to talk to your manager about having one made for Holly by the Sea one of the things that's included in it is local shelters and shelters that cover if you have a pet. There's also different service organizations that once you've evacuated that you can call for more information.
Can you name one in Navarre?
I can give you a form actually that I have, that I've made for some of the properties that I manage. I can just give you a copy of theirs. Actually, I don't have it here with me. I can shoot it to you electronically though, I'd be happy to. And
I've seen several, most are in West Milton and South
one
Milton.
of the things is when we evacuate Navarre and Navarre Beach, there's nowhere here that's safe for a hurricane. And so you're supposed to leave. But then where are you going to go? If you get on the road, there's a traffic jam. I believe Yvonne mentioned that 2 hours before there's a traffic jam. Actually, I'm the one that leaves 2 hours before because I have to shut down my properties and I'm the last one to leave. And 2 hours before the hurricane, I will tell you there's no one on the road but me. And I moved rather quickly. But there are places, and I do have lists of them, and I keep them for my associations, but it's something that you as members of Holly by the Sea may want to talk to First Services, and they can put one together very easily. And it's just called a disaster preparedness plan, and usually they probably already have them, and they just have to change a few minor things. And it talks about owner responsibility, association responsibility, and it also gives emergency service numbers and contact information. I'll tell you, Red Cross isn't as helpful as you would think during these things. United Way is the one to go to.
Right. My question was specifically, how would you improve it, and are you aware of any shelters in District 4? Because particularly with retired adults living in colonial times, these are areas that I think are forgotten. And they're very educated people, and they understand to have a plan in play. I started the question by saying, that failure to plan is planning to fail. So I agree that is out there, but I was asking, how can we improve upon? We basically have 87 in Avalon, and these are people that do often wait because they don't want to leave their pets and they don't know where to go, and we do not have shelter in Navarre. So I guess I was asking for a way to improve it.
Right. The shelter in Navarre, I think, was the high school, and they found that wasn't a very good place.
After the hurricane.
Well, I'm talking about Hurricane
Right
Ivan and
before.
Dennis.
Right.
They learned that those weren't very good places to have as an evacuation, so now they've moved them up further north. The problem is if you have a pet, finding somewhere that takes your pet, and a lot of people won't leave because of that, because they're worried about their pets or whether someone will take their pet. So it's good to have that information ahead of time and have a disaster preparedness plan ready for your community.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more question, and then each of you will be given your 1 minute time for your closing remarks. When I give you the microphone, if you see me walking towards you, it means you need to pass it down the line. We're going to get out of here. One more question? Here.
Thank you. My name is Damon Friedman. I actually live over in Sound Hammock, and I've developed a task force due to the major flood, trying to work collectively with Holly by the Sea. A month ago, I grabbed all of the flood victims. I was the worst flood victim. I'm a military member. I purchased my retirement home. So that was quite a surprise. And about a month ago, I went to the county commissioner's office, looking for some help for my community, not just for me. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking for a man or a woman of action, not a man or a woman of talk. And I think that, and so I'm not for any candidate here except for what facts are. And when I went over and I talked to the county commissioners, I spoke, Melvin was there, and Mr. Melvin and Mr. Cole were there, and I kind of gave them a petition about my issue. And that same day, Commissioner Cole showed up at my front door. I don't know Commissioner Cole, but he showed up at my front door, and Andrea showed up at my front door. And collectively, they've been going back and forth with me and our community about preventative measures for the flood mitigation. I'm not trying to bolster anybody's stock. I'm just saying the facts. I'm here, and this question is for the two commissioners, and also to Andrea and the two young ladies over there in the blue dress and the one on her right. The question is about flood mitigation. And I would like it just to be a pointed answer. I don't want it lengthy. I just want it direct and to the point. My question is what is the plan for Holly by the Sea flood mitigation plan in process now? And do you have plans for the communities, for example, Sound Hammock, that you are actively engaged in working? Not a thought or reflection. I mean, what you're doing right now, because it's been over a month since the flood. And there's multiple people. I had about $35,000 worth of damage, and we're still standing by, and we're waiting to hear what's going on. So, sir, if you can begin, Mr. Cole.
As far as, we do have, started out with Baskerville Donovan and got a flood mitigation or stormwater plan that's going to take a year to a year and a half to work. As far as an immediate, whatever I've done immediately, been in touch with DOT on a situation I feel like we have along 98 not draining properly. I've talked with DEP, in fact, had them there that day. We talked, looked at some mitigation in taking care of some of the situations in the woods between your community and Highway 98. Debris in the woods is causing some flooding, water not going into the proper channel. Even got DEP to agree that, if the county felt necessary, they would permit tearing out some culverts and putting in a bridge, because basically culverts are, once they get overfilled, they're like a dam. They're going to hold back the water, where a bridge would allow it to free flow. And I also think a bridge would allow the water to kind of flush itself and keep that clean. So that's what I'm doing immediately, because I also have people up in District 2 that I'm working with on similar problems that we talked about earlier with raising homes and stuff. So trying to visit people and get a genuine feel for the need and what they're going through.
Thank you. Yes, sir, and I understand the depth of your agony. I went through that after I left, thinking that we took 3 days worth of clothes and medicine and 2 dogs and came back to nothing. What I've been doing since the flood, in addition to responding to the local, one-on-one phone calls and emails, as chairman, I met with Senator Nelson and the traveling FEMA team and laid out our needs. They actually did a tour. They didn't come through Santa Rosa County. They stayed in Escambia County, where the major damage was. But we've got the money is going to really start flowing from the federal and the state. I did have the opportunity to meet directly with the state. Florida's version of FEMA is SEMA, and I met with him and his number 1 aide, and they are very familiar with this, and I gave them the whole download of all of the emails that we have received, and they are working the issues. And as to the local projects that we're working, Avis Whitfield has had road bridges, and Avis and his people have been working. They work normally 4 10-hour days, and that's because you have to have a day for the equipment in the shop, or you won't work next week. When you're working heavy equipment, you have to have a downtime. They've been working 16, 18-hour days, and then the equipment is, I don't know if they're working 2 days, and the mechanic can do it or not, but people are firewalled on this, and I understand the frustration because it's not happening right now, but things are moving, things are in place, and remedial efforts are underway, but the big money and the big fixes, honest to God, probably are a year out, at least. I mean, it's not a popular answer, but that's an accurate, honest answer.
So for the ladies, since they're not commissioners, what would you do in order to improve the flood mitigation plan based off of what we hear today? First Andrea and then the 2 here.
Okay, I manage Sound Hammock where Dana's at, so I'm very aware of what his situation is and what needed to be done there, which I believe Yvonne and Etta are at a disadvantage because they aren't aware of those. But one of the things I was doing before this flood ever happened was I had gone before the commissioners and asked them, please get someone out there to clean our ditches. We can't get anyone out to clean the ditches. And that was after numerous attempts of going through Public Works, Avis and Stephen Furman, and trying to get it taken care of. And so in my frustration, I didn't know what to do anymore. Avis is as high up on that chain as you can get. So I went before the commissioners and I said, please help me. We have a problem out at Sound Hammock. And this was actually before I had ever met Damon. And so Commissioner Cole asked Avis to work with me. And it kind of started something. It made it a higher chain than it was previously because I was having no help with Public Works whatsoever. They work off of the squeaky wheel. Only the squeaky wheel gets the grease. They have zero maintenance plans for the ditches in the county. Zero. The only time you get help is when you go up there and you complain. And so I did. And Avis started helping me. He had Stephen Furman help me. The prisoners came out and they cleaned our retention areas. That's all they did. But right now, that's where we're working on. The county's Public Works is a little backed up with all these ditches that weren't cleaned out over all these years, and they're trying to fix now what they should have cleaned out before. And so we've got a little bit of a backup on it, but we're still pushing them, and I still want the prisoner labor to come out and clean and hopefully get it so that it's better for you.
First, I want to say that the county number of employees is one county employee to every 435, it's either 435 or 453, so that means that the county is more reactive as opposed to responsive. So I did not know about your home. I don't live in your area. I didn't get that information, and I do feel for your loss. I'm not going to say I understand because I don't. However, until we as citizens are willing to pay for a comprehensive stormwater plan, this is what we're going to deal with, because there are so many variables that go into why an area floods. The geography, the topography, the demographics of the area, the building codes, the DEP, the EPA regulations, and until all that is addressed in a county-wide comprehensive plan, this is what we will have. And until we're willing to pay for more county employees with your roads and your bridges and your public works that can take care of these issues, we will always be reactive as opposed to responsive. And when I have called Stephen Furman and Avis Whitfield, they have always been responsive to what I have said to them. When someone says to me, hey, this is my issue, if it's a public works issue, roads and bridges, and I call them, they get on it. But they don't know everything about the county because there are only so many employees, and that's unfortunate. But that's what happens when we're not willing to pay for that, or there just isn't the budget to hire more people, and the county has lost people through attrition over the last 5 to 6 years because of the economy and the downturn. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I worked for Carlin Killam, which is now Hatchmont McDonald, for a couple of years, and we did a study in Escambia County where we studied all the drainage throughout the county. That's one thing we do need to do here in this county. We need to know what we have and what we need. But beyond that, every time I ever developed a subdivision, I made sure that the bottom of the retention pond was a sand chimney. We need to go back into these areas and take these ponds that have filtration systems and put sand chimneys in those ponds so that that water has somewhere to go to get off those houses. But on a side note, we also need people to know that if you live in a community that is a private community, if you hear the words private road, private retention pond, then our county can't help, because our county has no jurisdiction there. If a person puts in a subdivision that does not get the roads and the ponds approved by the county, it's not built to their specs, and they sell you a home in there, then you are in a mess. So the one thing I would tell you is please let your neighbors know. Listen to that word. If you're private, don't buy that. Don't go there. Other than that, we're going to have to retrofit this county in order to make the drainage work, and it's going to be a massive project, and it's not going to be fast, and it's not going to be easy.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, you start us off and you started? Okay. I'm gonna run that. 1 minute, please. See me walking toward you, pass the mic.
Well, I know it's been a long night, and I just want to say that I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to come here tonight So how do you choose who you're going to select to represent you and make decisions on your behalf, especially in the District 4 race, because there's no incumbent, there's nobody with a voting record that you can point to. I think you have to look at what they've done in the community. What's their track record of giving back to the community or being involved, working with others to get things done? As it works, as we know, we have examples for Navarre specifically. A year ago, I went to the County Commission and I recommended that we added a second dedicated turn lane to our Navarre Beach Causeway. That was recently completed. When it comes to helping youth in Santa Rosa County, I helped start the first Boys and Girls Club in Santa Rosa County. Helping veterans, started Vets to VA to get veterans free transportation to their doctor's appointment. I have been plugged in with working with folks in the county to solve problems. And one gentleman said he wanted action. Action is when you come up with a plan and come up with a solution based on working with other folks, and then you implement that plan. It doesn't come from sitting back and doing study after study or survey after survey. It comes from taking action. I hope that when you're making your selection, that you'll look at those who have been involved in the community and who have examples of working with others to get things done. And I'd appreciate your consideration on, well, I guess it starts on my birthday, August 16th.
Happy birthday. Yeah.
And thank you all for coming out and staying a little bit later. I know it's making a late night of a long day, but it's important that we get to meet you and you get to know us and see what we've done for the community. I agree with Rob. You know, when you're making that choice, find someone who knows what they're doing with the community, who's worked it, and who's done different things in the community to make it better. All of us have done something. We all care about our county, but some of us work it on a daily basis to make it better, and not just because we're running for county commission, because that's what we've been doing all this time. Since 2005, I've been helping communities. First thing I got to do was start rebuild after the hurricanes, and then we had all the different crises that hit. And so I've been working through the community to build it, to make it better, to help property values come up so that our tax base builds up when the house values go up. And I still continue to do that. I still work in the different communities, and I will continue to, because it's something I enjoy. It's something that I'm good at. And I never knew I was good at that kind of thing until I started working as an association manager. But hopefully you'll see why I'm the correct choice and vote for me on August 26th.
I've attended a lot of county commission meetings. I've been fighting for the South End for years. I've been watching them. I'm disappointed in the lack of involvement. I think everybody needs to be watching county commission agenda, have an email, sign up for the county's news releases, get it emailed to you, and watch it. Get involved, make your comments. I pulled records after records of emails on our county and our lack of involvement. It's sad. We can blame them in Melton, but we're the ones to blame. When I pulled the Wellfield records, it was sad. The low number of people on the South End that took the time to even email. After the Navarre Press covered it, the Gulf Breeze News covered it, I paid for email blasts in the chamber. I count the people that did something on one hand. So we got to get in this precinct here, get out and vote. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you're an active voter. And sign up for the news releases at the county. And maybe you'll see something on the agenda, like years ago, the Holly by the Sea. Funding was on the agenda. And if one person in here would have picked that up and said, you know, everybody email them. Thank you.
I'm not a proud person, and when I serve the community, I don't serve boastfully. You know, I do it with the intent of helping someone along the way, and I don't keep a check mark, and I don't keep a list so I can years later say this is what I've done. But everywhere that I have lived, and it has been across this world, I have worked with people, and I have try to improve each community, whether it's volunteering in the schools, whether it's taking somebody groceries, whether it's taking somebody to the hospital, driving 3 hours from Matsugi to Yokosuka, and you talk about tolls and you talk about traffic. We are blessed. Try driving to Matsugi to Yokosuka in Japan at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. 20 miles will take you 5 hours. So I have done those things, and I am invested in this county. I have a son and a daughter who live here, and I intend to stay here. We chose this area because of all the great attributes that it has, and the relationship building, just caring. That is what I have. I don't have a business. I wasn't born and raised here, but I understand what it takes to evaluate policy and to work together for the improvement of the community and buildings like Wayman. Thank you very much, Alex, for putting this on, and for all of you for coming.
Well, I've been here since '84. I taught my kids how to swim in that sound. I was here when there was nothing but a Burger King. I was here when we were grocery shopping out of the Piggly Wiggly that's now the Aces, and usually to buy most of what we bought, we had to leave this area to do it. I'm a problem solver. I'm a person that's been involved in, I owned a construction company for years. I put in infrastructure. I started that construction company with $3,000 of cash. By the third year, that thing was grossing over $3 million. I had 25 employees, and they were paid better than anybody around, to include all their insurance. I'm a person who cares about people. I'm a person who cares about my environment. I want to take part in watching our area shine like a diamond. I want to watch it grow to become what it's supposed to be instead of what it has been. I want to see us take the foot off the head of our county that sat on it since I've been here, where a certain few control it and stop it being what it should be. I don't want to see us become a city. I want to see us take all our assets, and I want to see those assets shine and make our area all that it's supposed to be so that we can be proud. I want to quit seeing people say, I lived here for 3 years and I'm moving because I'm sick of dealing with it. I want to see people in different places say, I can't wait to get there. I want to call my cousins and my nieces and nephews who are going on vacation, and I want to say, why don't you come spend a little time in Navarre? And instead of the answer I get right now where they say, why should I? There's nothing there. I want them to say, I can't wait to see you.
Well, thanks for having me. Hopefully we answer your questions. I think it's important that when we look at who the best representative of this county would be, that all the voters take the time to educate themselves on all the candidates. I do have a business here. I have a family here. I mean, I'm in touch with this community. I face the same challenges that many of you face every day. I think we need to elect somebody who can be the voice at the table that represents Navarre in the most positive manner. We need ethical leadership from somebody who has a proven track record of being financially responsible, because ultimately, we're in charge of your taxpayers' dollars. I promise to be a good steward of your money. I know what it's like to have to stretch a dollar and have to meet a budget and meet payroll. I think government should be run like a business. I think that's why we're in trouble as a country today. I think there's a disconnect there. So I encourage everybody to research everyone that's sitting up here before you tonight, see who's going to be the best representative, and see who has a proven record of being an ethical leader, somebody that's financially responsible, somebody that's involved in the community and represents us as a whole.
Navarre's my home. It's been my home for a long time. I'm here for the long haul, for you, for me, for my kids, maybe someday for my grandkids. What I can tell you is I'm a certified public accountant. I have fiscal responsibility and have had for more than 20 years. I want to bring, let me clarify, not $1 million budget, but a $100 million budget of Santa Rosa County to the best use it can for us. And what's missing, and what's been across every question you've asked tonight, is lack of communication and a lack of commitment to the people of Navarre. I want to be your voice for Navarre, and I ask for you to use your voice in August and again in November to let me do that for you.
Thank you for inviting me tonight. I think that my qualifications as a retired military officer and my business background with my 2 business degrees and my experience as a certified public accountant make me uniquely well qualified to serve When you trusted me with your vote 4 years ago, I told you then that I was wanted to be a public servant, not a professional politician. I told you that if you trusted me with your vote, that I would strive to give you open, honest, common sense government. And to the very best of my ability, I've done that. I have worked this job as hard as any job I've had, and I enjoy this job as much as any job I've ever had. I've got an iPad and a little electronic phone, and if I'm not in the office, those of you that email with me know that I get right back to you. If you call me, I get right back to you, and I work the problem till it's resolved, or we understand what it is going to wind down to. I'll continue to do that. I want one more term in office, then I'm going to go play with my grandbabies. But this is my give back phase, and God has been very good to me, and I'm blessed to be able to do this. And I thank you for putting your special trust and confidence in me for the first 4 years, and I'd ask you for 4 more, and then we'll let somebody else do it. Thank you very much. Appreciate your vote starting August the 16th.
Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I decided to run no party affiliation because I work with a lot of different parties. I work with Tea Party people, I know Tea Party people, I go to Tea Party meetings, I go to Democratic meetings, I go to Libertarian meetings. I think it's necessary to understand everybody's train of thought. I think we're basically all pretty much alike. We love our area, we want to see it grow and prosper. But at the same time, we need to keep it family oriented. And I think we can do that. We need clean industry. We need people looking out for things like where our drinking water comes from. I would never, ever permit a construction and demolition facility north of your drinking water. While we were fighting one construction and demolition facility at an administrative hearing to keep it away from the water, the county commission at the time permitted a 160-acre C&D landfill near the Blackwater River. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming out tonight, and especially thank my wife for sticking with me through all these. She's here every time I come. She's here with me. Being involved, being accessible, willing to recognize that even though my list of things may be long and problems I have to review may be long, that your problem, whether we're on the phone, we're sitting together, I'm in your neighborhood, that your problem must rise to the #1 issue of that time. And again, is that, we live with a lot of things as a county commissioner, but I've got to recognize when I'm speaking to you that at that moment, your problem needs to be #1 on my mind, and that's a problem I need to be working on. And thank you for your vote. This will be my 4th term if you choose to elect me. I've never forgotten that I'm a public servant, not a politician. If you need me, I'm there, I'm accessible, I can be called, and I answer to you, the constituents of Santa Rosa County. Thank you.
Okay, folks, once again, on behalf of the Holly Valley Seat community, I extend a special thanks to all the candidates for attending. I hope I was fair and balanced and everybody got equal time. If you didn't, don't let me do it again. Also, I'd like to thank our GM for coordinating this event, and I'd like to remind the candidates to please take your signs with you so I don't get the doghouse tomorrow. Please join us now for some refreshments. Thank you very much.